So I am going to be knitting the Owls sweater by Kate Davies Designs. This came out in around 2008. It's based off the super popular baby owl sweater. So there's an owl sweater for kids that's been around, I guess, since the 1940s, all kinds of variations. And Kate came out with an adult version. And I just cast off my last sweater project. It is blocking right now. So of course I'm ready to cast on something new and exciting. So we're gonna do owls. I've been wanting to knit this since 2010, 2012, I've just never gotten around to it. I've had a lot of other projects going on. So I just purchased and downloaded the pattern today. It's interesting. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna see if we can finish this sweater before Christmas. So it's August 29th right now. I want to have this done before the holidays. Usually sweaters take me about 8 months just because I get bored and I set them off to the side. But this one's a bulky yarn. It's really simple except for the owl cable at the top. So we're gonna see how it goes, see how we finish this. So let's get started on the first steps in our pattern. Okay, so we're fourth size based on our bust. Body length to underarm. I really should pay attention to sewing terminology before I do this. So we're gonna say body length to underarm. I guess if that's where I wanna hit. That doesn't feel right. Oh, because I'm looking at centimeters and I measured in inches. Okay, if we're measuring in inches, we're about at the fourth one again. Sleeve length to underarm. So this one's fun. We're gonna subtract about 3 inches off of whatever I measure to underarm. So I got a 22, so 19. Okay, according to this, I have a very small bust and a very long arms because my arms are in like the 9th size. That's long. That's very long. Back, yoke, depth. I don't freaking know that. I can't measure that on my own. So we're gonna do upper arm circumference. You ready? Here we go. Upper arm circumference, 13 inches. 13. Okay, but see, that puts me in the second. Guys, I'm gonna have to modify this pattern so much. This is ridiculous. Okay, we're gonna go with the fourth for the bust and back yoke depth, I think, and then we'll just base all of our lengths off of how long I want it to be. Select the size above your actual bust measurement with the amount of ease required. Crap, how much ease is required? We're gonna knit this sweater. You guys are gonna come along with me on knitting this sweater and we're gonna see how this goes because this pattern seems a little chaotic. To start off with needles, gauge size and below gauge size circular needles of appropriate lengths for working the body and yoke. Kate, come on. Cast on with below gauge size needles. Cast on. Okay, we'll see how this goes. I'm using the Cascade Eco Plus in this magenta color that I've owned for a lot of years. We are working on stash busting this year. Our purchases are going to be smaller but very specific to support local yarn stores and local fiber farms. But we are also going to be working through our stash because there is a whole lot in there and there's a lot of spinning fiber. And we are working on just not spending as frivolously as we have in the past. So I'm going to be using the Cascade Eco Plus for this. I have 2 giant skeins of it. Hopefully that's enough. And we're going to go ahead and pick out some needle sizes, get that cast on, see how this goes. I don't do very well with open-ended instructions and I don't like doing gauge swatches. So we're just gonna cast on with a needle size that I think is appropriate, and then we're gonna go. So I did not do any in progress videos of this sweater. So this is all one video where I told you what I was starting out with, and then we're going to talk about how it went, and I will show you the finished product. I knit this sweater out of Cascade Eco Plus and took a couple in progress photos, but there were some mistakes made along the way. The first of which is I forgot to separate stitches for the underarm. And I didn't realize that until I was done assembling the whole sweater. I knit the whole thing, and I just needed to graft the underarm together and call it a day. So I held the stitches on the sleeves, but not the body. So I didn't feel like undoing it because this had been such a long endeavor. So I just do, and I'm going to show you. But other than that, this was a really easy project. So the owl sweater, at its most basic, is you're knitting the body from the bottom up until you separate for the underarms. And it's just straight stockinette. You have 3 inches of ribbing and then straight stockinette. It is great mindless TV knitting. That was fine. And then I put the body on holders, and then you knit the sleeves, and it's the same thing. 3 inches of stockinette and then knit the arms. Now, the second challenge I had, and I will show you all this when I hold up the finished product, is I got a different gauge on my sleeves than I did the body, using the same exact size needles, but the body was on a large circular and the sleeves were on double points. And so my sleeve stitches are actually significantly tighter and more of the gauge I wanted, and the body is a much looser gauge. And I'm actually not super thrilled with it. I thought it was going to be okay. I thought the yarn would fluff up when I blocked it. And that is not what happened. So I will show you a photo of it blocking here. So you can see I have it laid out. It's blocking really great, but you can see the difference in the stitch definition. And I had hoped that would even out. It did not. Now, the pattern was super easy. That collar, that owl yoke is great. It's so simple. It's the same cable 3 times. That's it. The design is made from the spacing. And so that was not a problem. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to wearing it. Now onto the yarn, right? So I already talked about the fact that I got different gauge. It doesn't quite match up. I love the color. In case you can't tell, I'm on like a magenta maroon kick lately because this will be my 4th sweater in this color. But I went to wash it and block it. So I did a wool rinse in like warm water with wool wash. And so here's that picture. It bled like crazy. Now it's Cascade. It's Cascade Eco Plus, which is basically their 220, but it's 6 skeins worth. It's an entire sweater's worth. Cascade is a great yarn. Like I love Cascade 220. It is a perfect workhorse wool. So it's not a case of the dye not being set. So when I talk about if the dye is set with a lot of indie dyers, especially maybe newer ones, or if someone's process just gets messed up, what will happen is the dye will not adhere to the yarn fully and it will not stay. And so when you go to wash it, all that color will just bleed right out. And that's not what happened to this. The dye is set, but what happens is with magentas and reds and some darker greens, I've noticed, is there's a lot of excess dye. And so it's going to rinse off. And so my note for you is if you are working with Cascade 220, Cascade Eco Plus, any of the wools dyed with very strong reds or purples, you're going to want to wash them separately from everything else. I made the mistake of washing a wool that I had knit in some natural Romney in with a pink shawl, and the pink bled into my white Romney. So if with a color like this, like I used, you're going to want to wash that separately. So let's get into the final result. Overall, I was very happy with how this project worked up. I was stuck for a while. So once I finished the sleeves, I hit a pause for a while because I lost every single one of my needles, like my darning needles for weaving in ends and grafting the underarms. I still don't know where they are. So 2 entire tubes of darning needles have disappeared in my house. Do I know where to find them? Nope. Am I going to find them anytime soon? Probably not. So this did take a hiatus for a while. Now I'm gonna clip this on so I can hold the sweater up and show you, and then I'm gonna try it on for you, and we're gonna talk about some things with the pattern and the yarn that I see now that I have the finished product, and what I would do differently if I did this again. Okay. So pull this cord. Here is the final product. So you can see great colors, looks really awesome. It's very long. When I washed it and I went to block it, it stretched out a ton. This is not how big it started. It feels massive now. I just realized I was covering my mic. It feels very large. This is not how it was before I went to wash and block it. This is not a super wash, so I didn't expect a whole lot of stretching and growth. But the good news is that means that if I need to, I could mildly felt it. But that was a little frustrating to put all that work into it. I was very excited about it, and then to see it just grow and keep growing. But so now I'm gonna try it on. I'm gonna show you what it looks like on me. Okay, so we're standing up. So first, it is below my bottom. Now, when I went to wash it, it was like right here. So it felt a little short to me, honestly, because of my belly. It grew 8 inches. 8 inches, that's so much. And then the sleeves, I've actually got them pushed up a little bit. They are way over my fingers. Not thrilled about that. And then up top, I'm not sure how well you can see it, but the neckline is very loose now. It's very loose and open. It doesn't have that like nice tight feel. The owls look fine, like the underarm. Okay, here's my really janky underarm. The underarm looks fine. The arms are okay. They're just a little long. The gauge was really good on the arms. This gauge, I don't know if you can see the difference. If I had done this differently, what would I do? So first, while I did a gauge swatch, I would have washed it and blocked it. And I would have done a weighted blocking. So you can put like clothespins on the edge, the bottom edge of your swatch, and kind of hang it to dry to see what it'll do, how it will stretch. I should have done that. I will do that in the future. I would have probably done the sleeves first because it's easier to do the sleeves and then work on matching the gauge with the body. But with the body, I didn't even realize how far off my gauge was because I did the sleeves after the fact and they were so much more portable. I didn't have it all stored in the same place. So I would have double checked that. I would probably have gone down a needle size in the body. Originally, I was going to say I probably would have gone up a needle size in the arms, but I think the arms are a good gauge. I think the body is too loose. So I would have gone down a needle size in the body. So I think in the first part of this video, I talked about what needle size I used. So I would have changed that. The other thing is I went off the pattern measurements, but I went off that based on, again, the gauge that was given to me on the packaging. So you'll see right here, this is what the package said. And I shot for that gauge. I did the needles for that gauge. But what that doesn't tell you is if you knit something and it is a looser gauge, like more open stitches, that tends to stretch out a little bit more. A tighter gauge, those tighter, smaller stitches, it may not stretch out as much. There's just not as much flexibility in room. And so I didn't take that into account, that the material I was getting was very open. And so it stretched a little bit more. And that's exemplified by the fact that the body stretched about 6 to 8 inches. The arms stretched maybe 2. So they didn't stretch as much. They still feel pretty snug. The body feels like wide open. So I do want to say that in terms of the owl's pattern, that I am extremely happy with the pattern. It does feel a little intimidating at first because she doesn't give you a needle size and she doesn't really give you specific sizes at first. She tells you to go off your measurements, but that is a really great approach to making a sweater. Go off your measurements, not like just selecting a single size and calling it a day. And that's what I did. I selected the sizes that made sense for my measurements. I added some length because I have a long torso. In retrospect, I didn't need to. I added a little bit of length on the sleeves because I like longer sleeves. In retrospect, I didn't need to, but it depends on your yarn. So her pattern is really great. I would not say it's a beginner pattern only because of the setup. Now, once you start knitting, it is very easy. It is very straightforward. So if you are a beginner, I would maybe say just take some time to understand how your measurements relate to the pattern you're making and go from there. And just make sure you really understand what it means to get gauge on your needles and how to adjust. Owls is a really great sweater. I love it. I knit a baby one for my son. I knit a kid one for my stepdaughter, and I finally knit myself one. So I love the pattern. The yarn, like I said, I love Cascade. It's a great workhorse yarn. I'm just not thrilled with how it behaved on this pattern. I maybe would have gone with Knit Picks Wool of the Andes, which is usually pretty nice, or their palette,
Or there's a few other workhorse yarns. Barocco's vintage would have been a really great one for this. Maybe wouldn't have stretched as much. I'm not sure. It has some acrylic in it, so I think it would have held its shape a little bit better. And if you're looking at something that you don't have to hand wash all the time, that might have been an option. Overall, pattern 10 out of 10. Yarn is going to get like a 7 out of 10 from me this time, just because it's behaving poorly and it bled a lot of dye. This project as a whole gets like a 6 out of 10, just because I'm so frustrated with how it turned out. I was really looking forward to this. So I'd love to hear in the comments what you think. Do you think this length works? Do you think I need to rip out the body and kind of shorten it up a little bit? And if you are knitting owls or plan on knitting owls, I would love to hear your thoughts and what you are looking to create. So definitely leave a comment on this video, and I will see you in the next one.